Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else out there watching. Thank you for tuning in to Dave Listens to Hi-Fi. Bienvenue. So, a couple of years ago, I was playing with some of these. This is a little Class D amplifier board. And you plug in your input here, you plug in your speakers, and it just takes a DC voltage between 12 and 15 volts. And so to power it, I had three different power supplies, actually. I used a switching power supply from a laptop. I had a regular 12 volt DC power supply with a regular transformer regulated, and then I also had a big 12 volt battery. And each of those three different power supplies made the amplifier sound different. A couple of years later, I bought an Arcam Air DAC, DA converter streamer, and that came with a switching power supply, a wall wart type power supply. And I ran that for a couple of years, and I've bought on eBay a power supply from China. It was a 12 volt power supply with an R-core transformer and filtering and regulation on it, and that improved the sound of the Air DAC. So I've already talked to you about the Schiit Mani phono stage. Did a review on that. You can check my previous video. Subsequently, I went out and found a Swagman Signature power supply for the Schiit Mani, so this is an external power supply replacing the switching mode power supply on the Schiit Mani. Did it improve the sound? Did it have any upsides, downsides? So I listened to it for a while, and here's my impressions. So Swagman Labs is based in Hong Kong, and they make external power supplies for DACs and phono stages and turntables. They've been doing it for at least 10 years, from what I can see. They produce standard versions of their power supplies, and they also have a signature version. So the signature version has a nicer case. It uses better transformers, silver-plated internal wiring, Ferrotech sockets on the back. Basically upgrades all over, and is supposed to produce even better. So the one I've got for the Mani is a signature version. If you open it up, on the inside you're going to see a large toroid transformer, a small board with basically EMI filtering, a little choke on there, and some capacitors, and then just the wiring for the power switch and the LED light on the front. On the back you're going to see a little socket for the included cable. The cable's quite nice. It has a locking connector that goes onto the power supply itself, and then it ends in the barrel connector that plugs into the Mani. And it's got, like I said, the Ferrotech socket in the back with the switch on the back as well. In terms of weight, it weighs quite a bit heavier than the Mani itself. So it's physically larger, physically heavier. To get the equivalent weight, you have to add about 7 or 8 LPs to the weight of the Mani to match the weights of the two units. So physically it's more substantial, it's heavier, it uses more material, but there's a lot less technology inside it. It's basically just a transformer and a filter. Whereas the Mani obviously has an entire amplifier, equalization, filtering, everything else in there. Now in terms of cost, the Swagman Signature, talking to the person that I bought it from, who actually had purchased it new, works out to about almost double the price of a Mani when purchased new, if you include the shipping and taxes. And even used, it actually did cost me double what I paid for the Mani. In terms of value, I mean, it does a lot less. It's just a power supply, and it replaces the very inexpensive unit that comes already with the Mani. At the included price, it's about half of the price of the Swagman. Okay, now we get to the fun part, the listening. So one of the first albums I listened to on it was this Paul Desmond album. You can see there's still values to be had out there. Picked this up recently. Paul Desmond is the sax player. He played with Dave Brubeck, so that famous little melody on Take 5, that's played by Paul Desmond. So this is a later album. Herbie Hancock on piano, Ron Carter on bass, recorded by Rudy Van Gelder. So, but it's late 60s. A little bit poppy, less bebop, but still a quality album. It's fun to listen to. So when I had the regular power supply for the Mani, it sounded great. Plug in the Swagman, and then all of a sudden get a bigger sense of scale. The sound stage is a little bit wider. Really noticed in the bass, on Ron Carter's bass, you hear the wood of the instrument. The details came out. And it was basically just a larger, more powerful presentation. Not a lot, not a big difference, but definitely noticeable. The next album I listened to was Mandrill. There's like a Latin funk band, and really good. I recommend them. I spent a long time looking for these records used. I finally found a couple of them recently. So the album is Mandrill, the band is Mandrill, and the song Mandrill. Here I noticed a difference when I went from the Mani stock power supply to the Swagman Signature. The horns became more present. I think it was maybe dynamics on the horn, but they just came more present, more noticeable, more lifelike, and also in the vibes. You can hear the hammer strikes and the overtones. That's where I noticed a bigger difference. So the overtones in the instrument. Everything that the Mani was doing, this was doing better in terms of detail, in terms of forcefulness, in terms of liveliness. After that, I put on St. Vincent and the song Marry Me. So on the bass drum, when there's a bass drum kick, there's also a deep rumbling bass note that kind of descends, like boom, boom, goes along with the bass drum on there. And when I went from the Mani power supply to the Swagman Signature, that deep bass was more present. I mean, you could really hear it. It was there a bit with the Mani, but with the Swagman, it really came out. You could feel the power on it. Also on the string section, with the stock power supply, I found the strings were kind of stuck to the speaker. There wasn't a lot of sound stage. It wasn't wide. It was if you've heard it before with lesser quality electronics, you can hear that there's not a range of imaging. Stuff kind of sticks to the speakers. Well, it was doing that with the stock power supply. Put on the Swagman, and all of a sudden it gained a bit of openness and a little bit of extra width to the soundstage, and the strings detached themselves from the speakers and gave a more open presentation. Okay, so in the end, what do I think of the Swagman? Well, it makes the Mani better. It brings out extra elements to the presentation of the Mani. Better bass, better dynamics. Sometimes it helped the top end. And more importantly, I think it didn't have any downsides. It didn't seem to do anything to hurt the sound of the Mani. So in all, it's pretty much an improvement. Now, in terms of value, I like to get a good value with things, and the Swagman external power supply being double the cost of the Mani, that ratio does not add up to me. If you look at, you can get for $120, you can get this great phono stage that's really good, really fantastic for the money. For double that, you just get a power supply to add to it that's going to give you 5-10% extra performance. That being said, we're still only talking a couple $100 here. And if I had the Mani in my system and someone said, for $200, do you want to have a significant upgrade that's going to give you a phono stage that's, I would say easily compete in still the sub 500, maybe even sub $1,000 range. That's what you're looking at. If you like the sound of the Mani, you add the Swagman, there's no downsides. It just gets better. And it doesn't get any worse in any areas that I can tell. It just gets better. And it's only a small outlay. I mean, it's the price of 5 brand new vinyl records. So in terms of ratios, kind of doesn't make sense, but at this level, it's a minimal outlay and you can get better. Again, it's diminishing returns. But if you like the sound of the Mani and you can pony up the extra couple $100, $200 used market, it's a good way to go. So thumbs sideways, thumbs up for performance, thumbs sideways or down for value, or maybe up because it's not that much of an outlay anyway. You know, it's certainly, if you look at the price of other external power supplies, this is quite reasonable. So, you know, thumbs up for that. It's hard to say what's a good value for someone, but this makes a difference. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money, so there you go. So that's my conclusion. Thank you again for watching Dave Listens to Hi-Fi. Thanks for watching the rest of my videos. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channels. I'm going to be making more videos very soon. I'm going to be traveling very soon. I've got an event that I'm going to with a really good new product launch. So that's going to be coming up very soon as well. And I'm going to do a couple sound samples of the Schiit Mani with the standard power supply and with the Swagman power supply, and I'm going to post those on my Patreon. So if you join Patreon, you'll have access to those videos. I mean, it's going to be stuff that is probably copyrighted, and I can't post on YouTube without being demonetized and stuff. So that's why it's over there, but it's also incentive for you guys to sign up to Patreon, give me a couple bucks, and allow me to buy some more stuff to listen to for you. Thanks again. Take care, everybody. Leave me a comment. I read them all, and I respond to them all. And thanks for watching.